Hello everybody, Revan here, and welcome back to episode 15 of StoneBlock 2, where today, hopefully we're going to be finishing off Thaumcraft, and by that, finishing off the pack. So sit back, enjoy the video, and let's see what we can't get done. Okay, so last episode we left off pretty much kind of going through the basics here of our Thaumonomicon. I did in between episodes do a little bit. It wasn't too much. It was essentially just going through and finishing up whatever would let me autocomplete. I did get to essentia smelting, but I stopped at that because we needed to make the essentia smelter, and I kind of wanted to do that with you guys on film here. So unfortunately I can't add this to my book. I am curious if I pull this guy out here, if that's actually going to count for the book or not. Let's find out. It does not, so it wants us to make it. So let's go up here to essentia smeltery, add that to the list. We're gonna need 2 brass plates, a crucible, and some cobblestone. All right, hopefully we have everything that we need here. So we can just, I think the cobblestone just goes around here on the bottom. I grabbed way too much of it. The furnaces, the crucibles go in the middle, and the brass plates. And it's telling me that it's not going to craft. So what is it that it's not liking here? All right, let's try this again. I think the issue was the fact that the cobblestone I was using was in quotations and therefore not really doing what it was supposed to do here. But we can toss all these guys in and we'll just make some essentia smelters. I don't even know why I'm making that many, but toss you up, and then everything else we can just kind of toss back into our EMC system here. All right, so next up in the book. All right, so we have completed this. Now this is what we're going to use to fill up essentially our warted jars. We can smelt down the Viz crystals and turn them into that. Does this actually need anything complete? No. And there's a couple different types of warted jars. There's the basic one, and then there's a void jar, which I believe just does the same thing as like adding a void upgrade on a drawer. We're just doing that on jars though. And then we can just take, I'm not sure how far these guys go. I think they go like 16. But if we were to toss those there and then pull out a bunch of void jars. There we go. And then we should just be able to like kind of place these guys down here. Now I think each one of these smelters will be able to reach up to 16 blocks away, if I'm not mistaken. So I think we need 37 jars total. All right, now that we got the jars laid out, eventually we're going to have to put labels on these, which will essentially kind of lock the jar to one essentia type. But I think we need to actually get some essentia in there before we can label it. These files, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't figured out a way to actually make these yet. I think what I have to do is I have to get essentia into a warted jar, and then I can hit it with a file. I wonder, can I hit Viz? Let's just take some air. I have no clue if this will work. Yeah, it won't let me put it in there. So what I can do is toss this in here, and then I think I need bellows. Grab the bellows, and then what else was it? A venting port. And I'm not sure about this filling. I don't know if we have to put stuff on it, but I thought that you could just send stuff up. All right, so we need these arcane alembics, I guess is what we need here. So let's we don't need the bellows. I know the bellows are something, but I don't know what. There we go. We'll just take out 64 of these and guess like that. And then let's just grab some coal. So these is going directly into this first one. I wonder if that's just because there's only one. Let me see what it said about the alembics. Let's see here. Okay, so that just increases the storage. Doesn't influence the processing speed. Essentia slurry will slowly be drawn to the alembic. Individual aspects essentia separate out if the smelter is being powered by blah 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 blah. All right, so I did a little bit of playing around here, and apparently if I put this filling essentia transfer on top of the alembic, then it will go into a warted jar. Now if I grab a label, just grab these and I slap that on there, that should only ever fill up with the air. And it only gave me 42, and I did put 64 in there, so apparently there is some loss. Let's grab another stack of this, and I know that there's a way to kind of burn more than to transfer more than one thing, but I'm gonna have to kind of play around with this a little bit. All right, we managed to get the 4 vials that we needed here, which was a little bit of a pain. I can't wait till I get this thing somewhat automated. All right, when you see gases being vented from a tube, it means different kinds of suction are interfering with each other. The color gives a clue as to the types of suction that is causing the problem. Of course it does. Color-coded things are always the best for colorblind people. All right, tubes can be connected and disconnected from their neighbors by clicking on them, the section of the tubing with the caster. Click the central section to rotate certain tubes like valves. The Essentia resonator is handy for troubleshooting your own tube network. You can use it on a tube or other Essentia using device to see what Essentia currently contains. Okay. All right, so the different types of tubes, you got valves, a filter tube, restricted, directional. So the buffer allows for that. Let's see, is there what is the construct? Doesn't actually say. All right, so next is Thaumium Essentia Smelter. A basic Essentia smelter is quite crude. If you have to be honest with myself, blah, 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 inefficient, rather slow, chalk this up to the could provide useful things. So we need to make a thaumium plate, which is just going to be 3 pieces of thaumium. We have the plates. That is complete. And to make this, we can just, it doesn't look like we actually need to make it here. We can complete this too. So the centrifuge is a wondrous invention that allows me to break essentia into its component parts. When compound essentia flows into the centrifuge from below it, it will slowly be broken down into the primal. Okay. Not sure we need that though. All right, you are complete. All right, so this is the automation point. So this is the part that I should probably pay attention to. I've invented an automated device. I have named it the Thaumatorium. Let's see here. Like many multi-part devices, this one must be created using Salus Mundus. Is a marvelous invention that allows a thaumatage to select which formula to use and what catalyst to add. It then automatically draws essentia from available sources using tubes as long as there is a supply of catalyst. Access device, there's several. I don't think this is something that we're actually going to need to get into. I think all we really need to do is melt down enough of the essentia to actually power this guy over here. As far as the arcane infusion, we still need a file of air, and that should be that. So now we just need to grab our stone and our feather. All right, let's see if this reaches now. All right, yeah, that's complete. So unsurprisingly, Infusion Crafting is providing, or is proving to be a lot more complex than I expected. Yeah, I'm barely understanding what I'm doing right now. Simply try to infuse aspects into something does not work. I will need a relatively complex system to stabilize the entire process. So I need to pull out a Runix matrix here. I'm hoping it doesn't actually have me make it here. It's going to have me make it. So I need arcane stone brick and niter. And that just comes over here to make our matrix. And the only reason I'm doing is I think I need to do that before I can actually form this structure here. All right, so you are complete. All right, so now if we take some Salus Mundus, and nope. Okay, so we still can't click on this. Let's see, there should be a way to improve the function of the infusion altar. I should also investigate this. Found a way to improve fusion altars through the use of special blocks placed under one or more of the 4 altar pillars. The infusion speedstone will increase the speed at which altar operates, but at a slightly increased cost. The infusion cost stone will decrease infusion costs, but at a slight reduction in operating speed. These stones must be placed directly under the altar pillar, but they do not need to be balanced for instability. Okay. So we can put those under the pillar. We've already completed this. I have to figure out what I did wrong here to get this guy to actually form here. All right. So yeah, it looks like even though it told me I needed stone brick on the bottom, it just needed the regular stone. And this has created the infusion crafting. Now there's still a few things that we need to do. We're gonna need to put some altars around the outside of it, and do some things to make this guy stable before we can actually start crafting that. What I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to upgrade these guys to the smeltery just essentially by pulling them out, and then I'm just going to feed a bunch of viz into them via hoppers or whatnot to get this guy try to get all of these guys up and running. So I will bring you guys back once I gather up a bunch of the essentia. All right, well, I did a little bit more than collecting of the essentia. I set these guys up and essentially I just filled them with viz. The only issue that I ran across was I kind of had to do it manually. I did set up an energy condenser and have it make viz crystals, and it makes the blank viz crystals. The only problem is once it makes the blank ones, it doesn't actually, it won't smelt them up, and it doesn't convert them over into like the random viz crystals like it does if you just pull it out. So I just been having to manually fill these guys up, and then I just made 37 more jars here, and I've just kind of been working on filling them up with the vials, and I'm hoping that we have what we're going to need. Of no sound. Anyways, I also did kind of upgrade the altar. I did this off camera because all it really was me pulling the stuff out of the EMC. I just set up pedestals around it. There's 2 items that we're going to need to actually create. One of them is the Crimson Rites, which is kind of like the Tome of Knowledge for Thaumcraft. And then the other one is the Sword of the Zephyr. The Crimson Rites one actually requires 16 pedestals. So I have 16 pedestals set up. And then these guys right here, these are just, if I pull this out here, they're just inlays, right? So they're redstone inlays, and essentially they act kind of like, think of it like as redstone dust. So these guys right here are stabilizers, and what they do is they act like shock they act like shock absorbers for when there's instability in the crafting. So as this is going, the higher level crafting can get a little bit more unstable, and you actually run the risks of items that you're putting on these pedestals here getting knocked off, and then the crafting failed, and so you can actually lose some items. And if we didn't have EMC, some of those items would be, you know, kind of a pain to make. So what'll happen is, let's say there is, let's just grab a block of coal here, a block of coal on this pedestal right here, and the core gets a little bit too unstable. This could actually get knocked off. But what this guy is doing right here is, or any one of them that's actually connected, it is taking that shock, and instead of this being knocked off, it's just essentially turning it into flux. Now in StoneBlock 2, we don't really have to worry too much about flux, because from my understanding, Thaumcraft is kind of like an easy mode, so we're not going to get fissures or warps or whatever those weird worm-like creatures are that come through it. So, you know, we're just making do with what we have here, and hopefully we won't have any issues. The other thing that I did was I put down these tallow candles and these heads. These are supposed to actually increase your stability as well, and that they're supposed to be, what you want to make sure is that everything is kind of symmetrical. So if I had a candle here, I would want a candle over here. If I didn't, then just by putting the single candle down here, I could actually excuse me, I would actually increase the instability of the platform here. So what we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to craft up the sword of the Zephyr. Now, that actual sword requires a few other things. I mean, obviously it requires the rare earth, the great wood planks, and 2 of the air crystals, but it's also going to require 30 air, 30 modus, and 30 aversio. So we need to kind of come over here and grab these. It should reach, but I don't want to I don't want to take that chance. All right. So we're just going to place these guys right there. So they're definitely in reach. I think the altar will reach up to 16 blocks away, but like I said, I don't really feel like taking that chance. So we're just going to grab our crafting materials here, and we're just going to toss these guys on some pedestals. We'll just kind of, oh, this guy doesn't go on here. We're just going to go like this, like that, and like that. And then hopefully those are in a decent spot. And then we're just going to come over here and take our caster's gauntlet. And I think if we hit this, it should, yep, it's starting to work. So it's taking in the essentia, and right now it's very stable. So we shouldn't have anything to worry about as far as this craft is concerned. If you hover over this and it starts getting like very unstable, then you'll start running the risks of things falling off. But I think with everything that we have set up, we shouldn't run into that issue. But we now have the Sword of the Zephyr, which was one of the quests that we need to do. And then the final thing is going to be the Crimson Rite. So let me just grab all the essentia that I'm going to need for this guy, because let me see here. Crimson, should probably just add this so it's a quick entry. As you can see, we're going to need quite a bit of essentia, and some of it we need a lot of. Like we need 250 of whatever this guy is here. So let me grab that up and I'll be right back. All right, well, I think we have all of the different essentia that we're going to need. I just took them off the wall over there and placed them over here. There is 13 different ones that we're going to need, and we have 13 set up. So the next thing we need to do is come over here and grab up all of our supplies. Let's see. Try to separate these so they go one by one. So I'm going to kind of do them in chunks here. 4, and then let's grab 2 of the mundane rings. We need 2 of the amulets of Viz. We're going to need, oh, these I want to be careful with so they don't spill. 4 buckets of the liquid death, which we got from our cow over there. And then we're going to need 2 of the blank advanced foci and 2 of these scribing tools. And then we just come over to the center and we'll take our Thaumanomicon and toss it in. We're showing very stable, but let's see what happens when we hit start on this guy. Okay, so I figured out what I was doing wrong here. If you look at the recipe closely for this, you'll see that the mundane rings actually need runic shield 3 on them. So I need to go through and actually bump all these guys up, and it's fairly simple. Each one of them, for each stage, you need a piece of Salus Mundus and a piece of amber. For runic 1, you need 1 piece of amber. For shielding 2, I'm sorry, for shielding 1, you need 1 piece of amber. For shielding 2, you need 2 pieces of amber. So we just toss this in and pull this out, and hopefully we should be able to get through that. So I'm just going to run through these enchants, then bring you guys back once we got them all up to level 3. All right, we've got both of our mundane rains up to runic shield 3. So let's try this guy again here. I'm not going to follow the order that it says to put them in, just because I'm curious if that actually matters here. But let's see, we got those guys, and then our scribing tools, and then we just have our 4 pieces of void metal. Then we need to grab our Thaumanomicon, toss you in there, and then keep our fingers crossed that we have everything. So it looks like it's actually going to craft this time. So I'm hoping that everything works. So all we have to do now is just kind of monitor this, just kind of fly over and make sure that nothing is going to be falling off, because it is going to take a while for it to absorb all of the essentia. Even though we do have 4 of the speed runes underneath, this is still going to be pretty slow going. We're not really going to be safe until it starts taking the items off the pedestal. I think that's kind of when you run into it, or maybe that's when you actually have to start worrying. I'm not really sure, but hopefully this will get us to where we need to go. So as you can see, it's kind of going through each one of the essentia one by one. We don't need any more of the aqua and the lightning bolt one, whichever. We just finished up the air. We're moving on to the ignis, and then the ordo and the terra, and so on and so forth. It says we need 260 of the sun. Do we have any more of that in close proximity? We kind of do, so it should be able to draw from there if it needs it. Kind of why I also have that set up over there, so it's still close enough to draw. But because each one of these drawers will only hold 250, so the other 10 should come from right here. Now, I think we can actually hit this with our time in the bottle to kind of speed it up. But I think that increases the instability on it. So I'm not really going to do anything about that. I'm just going to kind of sit here and wait. We'll probably just fast forward through the rest of this absorption. All right, we're on the last bit of the essentia that's being sucked up, and now we're going to start actually eating up the items that are on the pedestals here. So we're just got to make sure that nothing is going to fall off. We're still showing as very stable, which means that we did a good job with the candles and the skulls and the stabilizers, because this is normally not an easy craft from what I've seen most people do. Ooh. And we have Crimson Rites. So I think that means if we come up to our Thaumcraft, let's just collect everything that we have here. Why did I fall? We'll just toss this into our storage as soon as we can find it. There we go. Let's just see what we ended up here. Still doesn't look like I ever got the uber sword that you can get, but let's face it, we have infinity gear. I think we're good. We did get an angel ring, though. That would have been nice early on in the pack. All right, so we have completed Thaumcraft. We have completed the first tab, the second, the chickens, the cows, mystical agriculture, draconic evolution. The only thing we have left to do in order to 100% this pack is come up here and take this balanced clay. And once again, we need to reach some obscenely high number. If you're wondering what that number is, it's right there. So once we toss these into the table, I think we should reach it. 923, 923.32. Watch me be like a couple short here. May take a minute to register here. And yep, didn't give us any it didn't notate that we completed it over here, but that might just be because of the Crimson Right books is doing its thing. But we have completed the big spender, and we got a whopping 3 hoppers for that. So I am very pleased about that. And as you can see, we're back down to the 0 EMC, but we can fix that real quick. We're doing good on EMC again. So if I'm not mistaken, let's see. Is it still showing that I am missing something here? Oh, knowledge sharing book. I'm just sitting here like, wait a minute. I thought we completed everything. Let me just pull this guy out. There we go. We have, let's go back up in here. Complete you. Random quest. Give me a spawner changer. Thank you very much. We have 100%ed this pack, guys. That is very awesome. Where did this flux bore come from? Oh well. Yeah, I can't say how happy I am that this pack is done. This is definitely was a lot easier than the first time I completed StoneBlock 2. But again, having a working knowledge of how a lot of the mods work, and what you really do and do not need to do, kind of played a big part in this. Because normally when I play with a pack that's got AE or something like that, I tend to kind of go all out and automate everything. But knowing, hey, you don't really need to do this. You just need to worry about getting from point A to point B. And if you do that, you can jump all the way to point Z with the Tome of Knowledge. And that's kind of what we did here. We did kind of have to fumble around a little bit with Thaumcraft, but for my first time, I think we did okay. But yeah, that's the end of the pack, guys. If you have any suggestions on what you think we should play next, just leave it down in the comments and let me know. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed yourself, maybe learned something. I hope maybe this got you into StoneBlock, who knows? But as always, take care, be awesome, and I'll see you guys next time.